Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Farah. If you didn't know, I recently completed my master's degree in neuroscience. I was studying in London, but I've now moved back home to the United States, back just in time for science to be defunded. So that's fun. It boggles my mind how up in arms people got, even people on the left, in response to the language of defunding the police. That's what we're doing now with vital, life-saving research, education, public services. Maybe there wouldn't be armed guards outside of Tesla dealerships ready to charge you with domestic terrorism for protesting if we had opened our minds a little bit more to what defunding the police could mean. But yeah, I'm unemployed. Looking for work. It's pretty bleak. I'm on all the job boards, Glassdoor, Indeed, Jobs Mall, randomly, which allows you to film and submit a video cover letter. Chilling concept. The only thing more offensive to me than asking me to write a cover letter. And these job boards are absolutely selling off my contact information. Getting a lot of texts about outstanding toll balances and job opportunities, but ones that I didn't apply for. Fun that the scammers we have now are trying to swindle you by playing on your desperation for employment. We need communism. Glassdoor has a community tab with these threads separated by topic into, I believe they're called bowls. In these threads, within these bowls, you can have conversations, usually around work-related subjects. Now, I'm not frequenting the community section of Glassdoor. I'm just finding the jobs I kind of like the sound of and applying to those, not really interacting with the app or website beyond that. But because I have notifications on for Glassdoor and I get these email roundups, I've seen some of the things people are writing in these bowls. The Glassdoor community has gotten a few double takes out of me, and I had to show you what they're saying over there. Just got dumped by a hot 24-year-old. At 30, is it too late to get leg lengthening surgery? This was the post that gave me the idea for this video. I think there's a pretty good chance this person, who works at Deloitte, by the way, it was just joking about the leg lengthening surgery, but to take the text at face value, considering leg lengthening surgery after being dumped by a hot 24-year-old, there's so much to discuss here. Most fundamentally, I think, why are you posting this on Glassdoor? Like, if you don't take this to reddit.com where it belongs, like, please, this is where people come to look for work and talk about issues like salary negotiation and career pivots. You're over here doing incel stuff. This is not r/nice guys. Someone said, maybe date in your age group, and put a little, like, elderly man emoji. And the original poster wrote back, I do. And in the same week the 24-year-old broke it off, my 31-year-old also told me she wasn't feeling it. I don't love my 31-year-old, but that's interesting. You're repelling women left and right. Someone said your focus is split, women can sense it. And then a senior copywriter said she's a literal child. Someone else chimed in to say most cultures throughout history have had an age gap of 5 to 10 years. So this dating your age group is itself childish. Throwaway comment about is itself, oh, okay, they left out an article. So this dating your age group is itself a childish throwaway comment. Should expect it from an analyst. Men and women, though physically the same age, usually mature mentally at very different rates. Oh, I don't love that. Okay. And also being like, well, historically people have dated people, like, I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a strong argument. But I also, someone said there's a word for that called grooming, still icky. I don't think when we're talking about a 24-year-old, like, allegations of grooming are appropriate. I think 24 and 30 is, like, mostly fine. I do think it depends a lot on, like, where specifically the 24-year-old is at life, because, like, if they have just finished school and have never been in the workforce, then yeah, that's a little weird. They're materially in a much more vulnerable place than a 24-year-old who maybe, like, started working right out of high school. But yeah, so I think they're both wrong. I don't think we need to be affirming our actions now through the lens of historical age gaps. I also don't think we need to call it grooming when a 30-year-old dates a 24-year-old. Yeah, and so someone else said to the person who was talking about historical age gaps of 5 to 10 years, people also used to marry prepubescent children, which is why I feel like saying, well, we used to do that all the time is not the argument you think it is. Oh, and someone else who works at Deloitte said 31 divided by 2 plus 7 equals 22.5, so OP is fine. Everyone relax. They're doing age gap math. Mwah. It's so nice to know that it's not just a Twitter thing. The entire internet is plagued with discourse. There's not a corner of the web that is safe. I love it. Height barely matters for most women. If they cared, they wouldn't have gone out with you in the first place. That surgery is basically medieval torture, and I would immediately lose respect for someone if they did it. I think this brings up an important point, which is that if you were already dating, it probably wasn't the height. And that's also why I think this was probably just like a hyperbolic, jokey comment they made, like, should I get leg lengthening surgery? Like, it's, if you're 5'4" and she dated you knowing you were 5'4", it's not the height. So I do think the person who wrote the original post is probably joking, but yeah, this is a good point. It's like a really taxing surgery, and then your wingspan doesn't totally match up. It's not worth it. So if we're taking the premise seriously that this person would want to pursue leg lengthening surgery to be able to date more women, or like, I don't know, keep the women around, it's not, like, she wouldn't be there if the height was like that much of a problem, you know? It isn't your height. Look at your personality. And if the first thing you cared about was that she was hot, that's problem number 1, 2, and 3 all wrapped up together. Signed, a 34-year-old woman in a 13-year marriage. You tell him, sister. You tell him, accountant 1. Too late, ugly. So you can be a taller man-child? So an associate consultant said, I went through it because it was medically needed. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone doing it other than for medical reasons. It's painful and such a stressful process spanning over 2 to 3 years in my experience. So I think that's interesting, the perspective of someone who has actually had this surgery done, which, like, what are the odds that both of these people are on Glassdoor? So someone asked what the medical reason for this is, and this person wrote back, one side of the body growing faster than the other, so your leg lengths are different, and yeah, this causes some skeletal muscular issues. So we learned something today. Some people started getting like vulgar with it. They were like, oh, you should do the third leg too. And someone was talking about like girth, and they were like, how do I make this clean for Glassdoor? Let's think about like software, talking about throughput. Y'all are weird. Why are y'all are like being nasty on Glassdoor? And this is a senior director. Oh no. Height is not the problem, bro. And I think that's probably true. It's probably not the height. Women are attracted to confidence, but not arrogance. Unlike almost all men, a decent woman will overlook something as arbitrary as height. But women also want to feel valued. Why would she stick around if you are entertaining other women? 30 and you still don't have a clue. I mean, I think, generalizing. And they could have had an agreement to just be casual and open. But I did like 30 and you still don't have a clue. Maybe check what dating shows have open enrollment. If Love is Blind has taught us anything, he would get no screen time. And now we get to someone who is saying what I have been saying. This is for business, not personal dating comments. Stay relative to the subject content of the platform. And this person, I think they wrote one of the previous comments too. I think this was the person who was talking about historically we've had age gaps of 5 to 10 years. Let me see. I think it was the same person. But they say, isn't entering into a contract/partnership to pass on one's genetic capital and launch a new startup human that needs huge capital investment and nurturing in the early stages the ultimate business transaction? Isn't the rest just marketing to demonstrate why you should be chosen to be part of this venture? Yet another example of how capitalism's ability to dehumanize us is beyond calculation. The author of the original post wrote another response saying, and now the mentally ill 23-year-old is tweaking out because I can look at her location at the bottom of her profile, LOL. I don't know what profile he's talking about. I don't know if this is the same, like the 24-year-old is actually 23, or if this is a different girl altogether. I don't know why he's highlighting that she's mentally ill. Yeah, height is not the problem, bro. That's such a weird way to talk about people that you're pursuing romantically. Okay, next thread. Do white people that use white skin tone emojis on purpose do it to show they are racist/white supremacist? I have no idea if this person is joking or completely serious, but I love this. Someone's senior project manager responded, this may be the most idiotic statement I have ever had the misfortune of reading. Happy Monday, though, I guess. Okay. Someone who works at KPMG says, I'm Indian, so just wanted to get that out of the way, and you can tell that I am not a native speaker from my writing style. Emojis don't hurt my feelings. I have learned that if you focus on finding racist or sexist in every little thing in life and not giving people a benefit of doubt, then you are the one who is fueling this hatred. People go about their lives being sad, sick, racist, or whatever, and none of that should matter to us. I disagree. I don't think that being sensitive to instances of, like, oppression or discrimination or prejudice means that you're the real racist, you know? And I think if people are going about their lives being racist, that should matter to us because that impacts us. Yeah, there's a lot of comments like that are like, you're the real racist. And I just think that's shallow and not true. It's not true that when people are like particularly sensitive to something, it's because they're the ones doing it. I mean, maybe that could be said for conservatives in the United States, but anyway, let's continue. Of course, someone at Booze Allen Hamilton thinks it's not that deep. I use the emoji that matches my skin tone. I do think it's very funny how seriously a lot of people are taking this. You're so woke, I think you went back to sleep. Okay. We need to reclaim woke. We need to take it from white people, because what are they doing? This is not like the worst bastardization of the word woke, but we do need to take it back from white people and like from non-black people, because I don't like what they're doing with it. Not one bit. The white ones aren't pale enough for me. Celtic skin is denied access to digital spaces. Someone who works at Lockheed Martin says, girl, I'm white Texican, so I use this one. I'm white, pero con sazon. Okay, good for you, girl. Lockheed Martin, though. Someone who works at Deloitte says, so which shaded color should I use? I accidentally clicked a darker one once and the recipient said, you're not that dark. The author of the post says, I thought the yellow one is default and takes away the point of thinking of race. Just don't understand why people have to consciously pick a skin tone for thumbs up emojis. They could still be joking, but the author of the post is doubling down. I love the idea that they're like, if you're a person of color, go off. But if you're white and you took the time to select that pale little thumb, why are you thinking so hard about it? I think they have a point. I also wonder, like, are they talking about just emojis in general, or are they talking about teams? Because that would make sense to me as to why they're posting this on Glassdoor. And I have never in my life seen someone use a non-default emoji color on Teams until the other day when my friend sent me a screenshot from a Teams conversation with some of her coworkers, and she was like, if you can attend this, please like this message. And one of the thumbs was white. It was a white little thumb on Teams. So jarring. Honestly, I do think it's a little like, whew, to see just a white emoji in general, but a white emoji on Teams, I don't know what it is. Like if it's the shading that Teams has on their emojis that made it so like shocking, but I didn't like that. So I think especially if the original poster is talking about emojis on Teams, I'm with them. I stand with them. Someone who works at EY says, that would be a really broad statement to make. To each person their own, I would guess. I use the yellow one because I'm too lazy to change the standard one. The one person I know who uses the white one likely isn't secretly racist based on what I know about them. How would you know? I don't know if you get to make that call, person who works at EY. Someone responded to this running away with it. They said, right, they are probably just trying to not get picked on and canceled by SJW for cultural appropriation or whatever the PC term is these days. Well, what else are we supposed to use? Why would you make a racist thing out of a white person using a white emoji? That's just crazy, and I'm going to drop it there. Ooh. Thank God she stopped. Thank God she dropped it there. She was really gonna give it to us. And I think this person has is that their full name? You're putting your full name out here making these comments. What were you gonna say? What else were you gonna say, Muriel? I wanna know. So in your mind, it's okay for everyone else to pick an emoji color that resembles them. But if a white person does, you're labeling them as a racist white supremacist? There's a term for making generalizations about people based on their skin color. What is it again? How ironic. Oh my gosh. They pulled out the reverse racism trap card, but like, that's just silly. Making generalizations based on skin color is not the only facet of racism. And I think you are taking this too seriously. Someone says, I don't know, I use the default Simpson ones because I find this whole concept of segregating reactions by skin color very creepy and disturbing. We used to consider the thumbs up emoji as an abstract idea of approval, and now we're back to treating it as representing someone's actual physical hand. It's like the evolution of written language in reverse. I don't know that allowing people to choose more representative emojis is segregating reactions by skin color. I think actually it's allowing everyone to be present. I that's such a weird take to say choosing a different emoji color is segregating our responses. And I don't really know what point they're trying to make about the evolution of language by saying that if the thumb is a different color, it no longer represents the abstract idea of approval. I'm not sure what moral imperative we have to see that emojis like the thumbs up represent an abstract idea and not a physical hand. I don't think that is a significant distinction. Yeah, silly concept, because like a thumbs up exists in real life. This is my physical hand and it's a symbol of approval. Two things can be true. And I don't think that because my hand is brown, like the significance of the symbolic approval is changed. It's getting philosophical. I know plenty of black people who use their skin color on them. Does that make them racist? Stupid question. Okay. Given when I use my brown emoji to convey brown superiority, it's got to obviously mean that a white emoji translates to white supremacy. This person was being sarcastic, but I'm not. That when I use brown emojis, yeah, that's what I mean too. And now the emoji racism thread is getting even more political. Someone said, use whatever you want, your president is orange. And then consultant number 3 wrote back, God bless our orange president. We avoided a disaster by not electing the Caribbean Indian, low IQ, inept and immoral, cackling sorority girl who falsely identified as African American. The way this person put Caribbean Indian, the standard term is Indo-Caribbean, first of all, in the same category of descriptors as low IQ, inept, and immoral is very upsetting. Also, falsely identified as African American, could not have predicted how hard the concept of biracial identity would beat Republicans' asses this past election cycle. And finally, if you buy into the concept of IQ in any way, you do not need to be trying to quantify anyone else's intelligence. Look inward. Wow, you are really searching for ways to call people racist. Find your nearest mirror and that will show you the racist. It's not them, it's you. Okay, more reverse racism allegations. OP, get behind me, I got you. If we are down to the color of emojis being offensive, I'd say racism is largely solved. Racism is not solved. You don't know what racism is. We do not live in a post-racial society because people are making probably jokes about the color of emojis on Glassdoor. You don't have any concept of a system. You don't have any concept of what discrimination looks like materially for real people. I can be experiencing housing discrimination, a pay gap between me and my white colleagues, and still make jokes on the internet. Or maybe I really am offended by white people choosing white emojis. That doesn't mean that we have solved racism. And I think it's so gross to like take this opportunity of just like a random Glassdoor post to be like, guys, I think if people are making comments like this, we solved it. Am I right? Yeah, I think we can agree racism is over. You don't get to determine that. Shut up. You're so weird. Why on earth would you think that we need you to weigh in on whether racism is still a problem? We do not need your voice on this. Delete your account. Good Lord, no. I am white, and using a different emoji would be some sort of blackface, I think. So precious. Yeah, it would be weird if you were to use a different, like a black emoji. I like the earnestness of this one. No hate. I think that's a good place to end. Been having borderline gay thoughts about a specific coworker after a business trip. I'm set to marry my high school sweetheart in June, and we just put a down payment down on a new house together. We both grew up in homophobic environments. What should I do? Now this is still mess, but this is the first of these ridiculous posts to be explicitly work-related, so sure. I guess Glassdoor can be for getting advice about what to do when you're having borderline gay thoughts about your coworker. To be honest, people were giving very nice, sincere responses to this, so might not spend that much time here. Someone said, sounds tough, but I'd recommend you open up to your fiance before signing that marriage contract for your sanity and hers. And someone else said, challenge the environment in which you both grew up. Get curious about what makes you truly you. You didn't get to choose where you were born or even how you were raised in your childhood, but you do have a choice in how you live your adult life. Someone who works at KPMG says, suppress these feelings, bury them deep down inside, and never speak them to anyone under any circumstances. You carry this with you to your grave and stay devoted to your fiance. A joke, I hope. Oh, okay, I think this person did say this was a joke, and this person said, if Fishbowl/Glassdoor ever published my name without my consent, I'd probably never be able to work in public accounting again. Obviously, my comment is satire. A senior associate said, see if fiance would be into pegging you. I do like that one. Someone says you've got to figure it out one way or another. I'd suggest therapy. Borderline gay might just be platonic at a level you're uncomfortable with, especially given your homophobic upbringing. Interesting point. Maybe talking to a pro can help you parse out what it is you're really feeling. Would strongly recommend sooner than later, because you don't want to have this weighing on you after you're financially and legally committed to your fiance. I do think that's a good point, and like, especially if you were raised in a very conservative, homophobic environment and you're a man, there's not maybe a lot of room for or representation of deep platonic admiration of another man. Now, this person is saying you need to find out for sure before you possibly make the biggest mistake of your life. Experiment with something gay before you get married. If you don't enjoy it, you can marry with confidence. If you enjoy it, then you've learned something new and can take more steps with that information. Now, what do they mean by try something gay? Experiment with something gay before you get married? Like, are they saying go to a drag brunch, or are they saying cheat on your fiance? We need answers, manager 2. Although it's heavily looked down upon, especially in the US, it is possible for a person to be in love with more than one person. OP can be, what number is that? 100,000? Yeah. OP can be 100,000% devoted and in love with his fiance and at the same time develop feelings for someone else. Don't shoot me! I know we are all raised to think that's blasphemy, but it's true. Not saying it's something everyone goes through, just saying it's possible for a small group. Also, I think we would all agree a celebrity crush means nothing. I don't know if it's a small group. I think many people experience simultaneous attraction or even romantic love. I'm glad to know that Glassdoor is down with the gays, because yeah, it was just a lot of like very sound, grounded advice and no judgment about the borderline gay thoughts. This is from the Parents at Work Bowl. Well, we're at the stage where we need to decide about vaccinations for our child, and I keep going back and forth. I trust science, but as a parent, the emotional weight of what if hits differently. I'm curious, how did you approach the decision for your kids? What helped you feel confident either way? When I saw this, I knew I wasn't going to like the replies. Some of them are fine, but we were never conflicted. The science is clear. Vaccines are worth it. That poor family in Texas whose child died of measles should be evidence enough. Someone said the parent should be criminally charged, in my opinion. Let's get into this one. This person says, I trusted my doctor's advice. I wouldn't take my kids to a doctor I didn't trust, so why wouldn't I listen to them? My doctor takes a very measured approach to vaccination and advises to get the essential, but then things like the COVID vaccine she said was optional, but that personally she didn't think it was necessary for children. She did recommend flu and RSV, so our kids are fully vaccinated plus those 2 extras, and we also did the early measles vaccine for our 9-month-old, which the doctor said wasn't strictly necessary, but she was offering it. I work in pharma though, and my best class in law school was food and drug law, so I generally have a good understanding of what it takes to get a drug or vaccine approved. I also believe that vaccines are one of the most significant medical developments of the past century and are essential, despite the risk that vaccine injuries do happen for a small subset of people. And now, someone named George Downs is going to give us his treatise on vaccines. The risk that vaccine injuries do happen for a small subset of people. OMG, no! The extremely deadly bioweapon unleashed on a benighted world by our military-industrial complex and deep state assets, wittingly disseminating it through our population and unsuspecting people around the globe, by some counts causing the needless, painful deaths of over 200 million and still counting. It takes a village to do this much evil on humankind, mostly vaccine-induced. This is the biggest lie in the history of man. The culling of the useless herd of humans being replaced by transhumans and robots now. It's not some futuristic sci-fi fantasy, but a current dystopian NWO, New World Order, is 5 years in the making. Check the excess deaths of young, healthy people. It alone should astound you. Substack has some brave doctors, nurses, and scientists informing the readers with hard facts. The vaccines are making us trans and robots is definitely a take. Oh, George. That's... I don't know what to say. Like, I guess he thinks the virus is the bioweapon, or is he saying whatever's in the vaccine is a bioweapon? I'm unclear, but George, obviously I think you're wrong. You're very passionate, but this is absurd. I can't believe you wrote this with your full name out there. Very, very disturbing. It was never a doubt for me. I'm vaccinated. Why should my children not have the same protection? Someone responded to say, good point. It bothers me that a lot of the parents that don't let their kids get vaccines were vaccinated themselves when they were kids, so they didn't have firsthand experience of how painful and scary being infected would have been. They're making this choice for their children. The children couldn't give consent, but had to live with the consequences. I've seen unvaccinated kids share their experience of how painful it was to battle those serious diseases while their friends didn't have to go through it. First and foremost, I deeply trust data and peer-reviewed studies. On a personal level, I remember hearing stories from my parents about the polio vaccine and not having to live in fear of a life-altering illness. From my grandmothers about other vaccines that weren't available to their families in the 1910 to 1920s. Both grandmothers have since passed, but they imparted a valuable perspective of the world before we vaccinated our children. Where 3 of my grandmother's siblings died before the age of 5 of illnesses that we have vaccines against now. And that was not uncommon. We have only known a world made safe by vaccines, and we take it for granted. We don't understand the real threat of these illnesses and what it is like to live in fear for our children. We have instead become fearful of what-ifs and highly suspect studies. But for prior generations, the evidence was irrefutable. They watched family and friends die, and then, thanks to vaccines, not die. Yeah, I think these first-hand accounts and statistical information is on the side of vaccines, and the side that is against vaccines just has conspiracies and like a disdain for people who have autism. This person is, I guess, a high school teacher in Texas, and they say medicine was not as advanced back then. People died from cuts and scrapes because there were no antibiotics. I was vaccinated, and so are my kids. The problem is that today's kids are receiving 4 times the number of shots that we received as kids. I don't trust Big Pharma. Let's look at Gardasil. They talk about reports of girls having bad side effects and being ignored, but eventually Gardasil was pulled and rebranded as Gardasil 9. They say they couldn't get enough female users, so they started pushing it onto boys who may be carriers but will never have any symptoms. And then they started talking about the COVID vaccine. Admittedly, I don't know about the Gardasil stuff, and like definitely be skeptical of Big Pharma, but when we're talking about vaccines, I don't know. It can get into insidious territory really quickly. So this person says, after that, you had the COVID shots that were supposed to stop transmission and prevent people from getting COVID. It was marketed as safe and effective. They kept that lie up by silencing dissenters on social media. The research is out, and the proof is that it caused heart damage, blood clots, and more problems. The all-cause mortality has increased since those shots. The research is there from other countries around the globe, as well as this one if you want to see it. As a side note, I work with special education students, and I never believed that vaccines caused autism, but my mind has slowly been changed. I believe that there are vaccine injuries. I have heard all of the stories from parents who report that their kids were fine one day and suffered horribly after getting vaccines and never were the same again. High fever, screaming, head banging, and then in many cases silence. They just regressed. For years, people called these parents insane and suggested that it was just coincidental that the shots were given around the same time that autism is recognized. Now I have seen the vaccine injuries from the COVID shots. Vaccine injury is real. It's rare, but possibly becoming more common, and that could be the reason that autism has increased so much. I'm not talking on the spectrum having quirks autism. I'm talking full-blown, no denying, don't really need a test to tell you autism. I can't believe this person is allowed to work with children. Where to begin? I'll talk about the COVID stuff first, because I've wanted to make a video for a long time about like the effects of COVID-19 and the fact that we should still be masking indoors and in large crowds. I think I want the title of the video to just be "Put on a damn mask." I think that kind of communicates the thesis I'm going for. With the knowledge that I have, I do feel an ethical responsibility not to let these claims go unchecked. So I do want to say that while the COVID-19 vaccines have been associated with rare side effects like blood clot formation and heart issues like myocarditis, unless you have a heart condition or you're prone to blood clots, this should not really concern you. Because do you know what else is associated with blood clotting and heart problems? Contracting COVID-19. This person says the all-cause mortality has increased since the vaccines. Could that be because of the damage that getting COVID-19 causes that we don't even understand, like the organ damage that results from this disease, and the fact that we have abandoned masking as a preventative measure? I think there's a lot of reasons that mortality has gone up even since we've developed these vaccines, which, by the way, work. The vaccines work. Yes, you may experience side effects. They are rare. I will link some peer-reviewed studies in the description. Oh my gosh. Okay. Editor Farah here. I got so focused on the COVID vaccine stuff that I forgot to come back to the statements this person made about autism. The fact that this is coming from someone who works with special education students is so bad. It's not the vaccines. Autism is highly heritable. Your child most likely has autism because you and or their other parent have autism. It's so strange, and like the behavior of a eugenicist to be trying to identify the root cause of autism so it can be cured and prevented like it's a disease and not just another way that people can be and have been for a long time. I condemn those remarks that this person made so bad. So bad. Strategy Manager 1 says, do you have the reputable sources, statistically sound studies, links for all of the above claims? If so, please share. They can't. They do not have sources to share. There was a little bit of back and forth between parties who thought the COVID vaccine didn't work and some who were saying, no, it works. And I wanted to highlight this one response that said, people politicizing the COVID vaccine and not doing as they were told meant that the vaccination didn't appear as effective as it was. It did the job it was designed to do as a vaccine. Vaccine is not synonymous with cure or full immunity. It stimulates immunity. And yeah, if there's a bunch of anti-vaxxers like you, not getting vaccinated and not vaccinating your children, we don't have the immunity we need to the disease, and it can then mutate. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you don't get the vaccine and you're getting, like, and people around you are getting sick and you're saying the vaccine doesn't work. It's because of you. You're the victor. I trust doctors over randos on social media, so my kids are vaccinated. I grew up in a poor country and saw firsthand the devastating lifelong effects of people having contracted a vaccine-preventable disease in their childhood. I always thought of the ability to be vaccinated as a huge privilege and will always want to offer that privilege to my children. I'm personally a big fan of annual flu vaccines too. I started taking it only in recent years, and the number of times I fall sick in flu season and the intensity of symptoms is dramatically lower, despite having a toddler in daycare. Again, such a privilege and such a quality of life enhancer. Yup. Partner 2 commented about how the COVID and flu shot were unnecessary for their child because they're healthy, and someone responded to that by saying, I found it pretty sobering to find out that of the kids who died from the flu last year, 85% were unvaccinated, and half of those were otherwise healthy kids. That is a very sad statistic. Yeah, I think we're gonna end on that very unfortunate statistic, but yeah, if you can, get your vaccines and get your child vaccinated. Next, in the big law, this is in the big law bowl, an associate says, honestly, we are basically the minority as white men, non-LGB in big law. I'm the only associate on my deals team with traditional identity. I can't be proud of my identity or heritage because I'll be called a racist or sexist, but I think that's what makes us stronger, because we can't play victim, so we, unlike others, actually have to be good at what we do. A part of me is happy that the playing field is finally being even, as you don't get points for being DEI. What is a traditional identity? Does this man think white men were created first or something? What does traditional identity mean? I don't, non-LGB men. I love this first response. As a white, heterosexual, male, Protestant church-going attorney, you can take a long walk off a short pier, especially for typecasting yourself as traditional. Jesus taught us to love everyone. Hopefully the swim will wake you up to that. And then the original poster wrote back, where did I say I hated anyone? You know what I'm saying is true. No need to virtue signal. I love everyone, except for the people who do things the wrong way and get advantages over others for non-merit-based reasons. Non-merit reasons like being a legacy admission or like nepotism, which white men have historically benefited from a lot. Like, it's a classic conversation black parents have with their black children, that you have to be twice as good to get half as much. You have to be so good. You have to be the best. So for him to say everybody else can be bad at what they do, but white men, we're stronger. We don't have the excuse of playing the victim. That's not true. You get to be bad at a lot of stuff and fail upwards. And yeah, if you're not the victim, you're not the victim. There's other people who have been historically marginalized and disadvantaged, and they should get reparations for that. That should be repaired and addressed. A part of me is happy that the playing field is finally being even. The playing field still isn't even. You still have a massive advantage. The fact that you still feel like you're struggling when you have every advantage based on your definition of traditional identity, it sounds like a skill issue. And like, you don't have to say you hate everyone when you make a statement like, we're the minority and there's no more people with traditional identities, and you're happy that the playing field is finally being leveled. You don't have to say you hate people. We know what that means. And someone responded to the author of the post saying, OP, where did P3 say you hated anyone? And then partner 3 responded, correct. There's a lot of room between love and hate, including such concepts as indifference or, in the author's case, contempt. Not hating someone is not really enough. Period. They have a word for men who take pride in their whiteness, if you want to take a peek through a history book or two. If USA Made is your thing, it comes with a fun cape and hood. Complaining about how you don't feel special because society favors your demographic at every turn is so deliciously rich when you can't even distinguish between apart and apart. Ooh, get him again. Alternatively, try hooking up with a dude. Okay, you lost me. If you want to be oppressed so badly, non-LGB, I guess they were joking, but like, don't kneecap the points you just made by saying you could try being gay as if that's gonna help. They're being sarcastic, I assume, but. And then Legal Counsel 1 says, that doesn't help. I'm a cis/masculine gay white male, and the gay card doesn't do me any favors anymore. You have to be flamboyantly gay or trans to get the benefits these days. If you're a gay white man, it took me a while to figure out what GWM means, who uses he, him pronouns, you get nothing for being a gay white man. You are the weakest link. I need you to know that. The queers had a meeting, and that's what we decided. Talking about you have to be gay or trans. What benefits would those be? Please, I need you to enumerate them in a bulleted list. Get detailed. Benefits. What the hell are these people talking about? You're a dweeb. You deserve a swirly, and I know you feel emboldened right now to voice the rot in your brain, but this nightmare is temporary, and tolerance, acceptance, diversity, and kindness will prevail. I love that. We should bring back calling people dweebs. Why is this? Why did white people abandon this language? Like, you had some bangers. You're a dweeb. You deserve a swirly. Yeah. You need to tell, instead of appropriating all of our things, you need to tell people, look, Buster. Bring, what is it? Newsflash. Look here, pal. Let's go back to that. You're a dweeb. Call someone a twerp. You deserve, I'm gonna give you a swirly. Oh my gosh. Maybe shove you in a locker. The OP had the nerve to write back, this response doesn't seem like you have any tolerance or open to acceptance. That's fine. The president is ending this and bringing back common sense. Yeah, the man with the common sense to think anyone's paying $5 million for a gold card. Why would anyone pay to come here? Why would anyone pay $5 million to come here? Many people I know are trying to escape. I don't understand what you mean. You can be proud of being Irish or German or Italian or etc. Such associations and cultural organizations exist in the US. Have you been to Boston? People are proud to be Irish and the whole city celebrates St. Patrick's Day. And then this person says, I'm American, period. That's my culture. We do exist. No, you don't. White people are not just American. And then Associate 2 writes back, okay, great. Do you consider only white people Americans? Or are black people, Latinos, etc. also Americans to you? What about Native Americans / indigenous folks? Partner 2 says, and so are the women Americans, non-white Americans, LGBT Americans, and naturalized Americans. Just say you're sexist, racist, homotransphobic, and xenophobic if that's what you are. Like, just say it. The original author writes back, there are white Americans from Britain, etc. who have lived here for 300, 400 plus years, and black Americans who were enslaved but have been here since the founding of the country. Those are the only two traditional and organic American identities. Everyone else are immigrants. If you can't trace your ancestry back to 1776 in this country, you are an immigrant. Crazy take, because those people were immigrants. But those are the only two traditional and organic American identities, is like white colonizers and enslaved Africans. Very interesting. That's the historical era he wants to harken back to with his traditional identity. Oh, man, yeah. So you want to bring slavery back as part of celebrating true American culture. And the author says, I never said that. I said there are only two groups of people who can claim that their culture and identity is American, whereas everyone else has to point to another country because they're immigrants, because their parents or grandparents came over in the 1900s. Many times the wrong way. Of course, the wrong way. And I figured that's what he was talking about when he said, I don't like people who do things the wrong way. And people like this never seem to, like, maybe they do understand that the United States, like, destabilizes other countries, and then those people are forced to find somewhere else to make a survivable life for themselves. Maybe this is a person who does know that and just doesn't have any compassion, but, like, people not coming here the right way. Do you know how many countries we are bombing? Meanwhile, we don't have guaranteed healthcare that isn't tied to employment, huge amount of inflation, people losing their jobs left and right. What are we doing the right way? I think your definition of the right way is very skewed. Someone says, can't tell if a troll or a legit serious xenophobic racist. I'll engage. What about Native Americans? I like that. It's like Joe from You. I'll bite. And someone else says, you're kind of forgetting a rather large population of Americans that was here long before the Brits. Also, who wants to tell Mr. Genomics that Brits themselves are a homogenized mishmash of gene pools from various preceding cultures? Oh my gosh. And then the original poster says, they should speak up then if they can. The only one I know of is Elizabeth Warren. So because you aren't aware of any people with indigenous ancestry other than Elizabeth Warren, people don't get to be considered American in the traditional sense you have defined because you haven't heard from them? Okay. Associate 20 says, if Fishbowl ever gets hacked and posts get traced back to people, it's these posts that I hope are the ones that get blowback. Yup. Partner 4 says, OP thinking 1776 is the origin of this land. Everyone who came on the Mayflower is an immigrant. The natives were here. Natively. Someone says that this post is rage bait. The atrocious grammar is a tell. I think he's just not a very gifted communicator. And maybe that's why he's having so many struggles with his career, because he's not charismatic and he has bad ideas, bad values, and he can't write a sentence without a lot of, like, grammar and spelling mistakes. Okay, synchronicity, because Associate 6 agrees. Bro can't write a coherent paragraph or spell. Legacy admits don't have what it takes. Like, I'm saying. Someone says the post-truth framework has arrived. I like that. Anytime I see something that's just, like, so disconnected from reality, I'm gonna call it the post-truth framework. Associate 5 says, I wonder if these rage bait posts are really from US big law associates. They seem to be deliberately breeding an environment of conflict, making it harder for us to unite against common and shared interests in defending the rule of law. Well, I don't know if what I'm interested in is defending the rule of law, but I appreciate the point. Like, yeah, maybe this person is posting rage bait to like keep people divided and arguing, and I mean, good for Glassdoor's bottom line. Probably you're spending more time on the app. OP just feeling insecure because he never would have gotten into law school but for ideological diversity targets, and he knows it. This is how I feel. What is a traditional identity? And then Associate 7 writes back, OP def thinks the only people to exist before the woke mind virus were straight white men. Associate 1 says, you are one person at one firm in one city and in one state. If you think that what you are experiencing is happening across the globe or even across the US, you are so delusional, and I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how you were able to get through law school at all so far disconnected from reality and with no ability to modify your reference point based on your own biases. So don't worry, you can sleep tight. Big law is still like 97% white male. Maybe you just need to leave that firm and go someplace where you're more comfortable surrounded by people that look like you. Yeah, I don't know how you work in law, and the impression you get is that white men are under attack or like underrepresented. Weird. Oh my gosh. And then the OP responded, not to that post in particular, but just under the original post, and still I rise. Are you quoting Maya Angelou? You are sick. Someone said, do you know what this poem is about? Associate 17 says, what is it that you want in the world, OP? What is your ideal social, political, economic setup? The funny thing is, there really hasn't been any practical change in the way big law or even the general USA economic model has operated. White guys still control everything. Rich kids inherit everything their family already earned, or in some cases, stole. A lot of cases, I would argue. Tax burdens hurt the working class far more than the asset owner class. What is it that you want Trump to do that didn't exist during Biden or even Obama? And then the OP says, common sense, that's all I want. He has brought it back, and honestly, it feels good. Look around. We don't control anything anymore, really. We are being forced to give up everything, including our places and industries we thrive, places and industries we thrive in, I guess. Like big law in the name of meritless diversity. Why is he assuming nobody who's not a straight white man has, like, the capability to do a job well? Don't fall for the rage bait. Don't fall for the rage bait. I think it's your spelling ability that's holding you back in life. Okay, Associate 18 says, the discourse on this thread is further evidence the ship is sinking. I'm so sick of gross claims and positions on both sides that are contrary to the alleged ideals being superficially articulated. We can push for equity without torching and spitting on each other. Which, like, this man deserves to be spat on, I think, at the very least. Associate Attorney 1 says, when someone is openly racist, homophobic, xenophobic, etc., there is no obligation to tolerate that. Gone are the days when people would disagree about matters of policy. The discourse now is debating the dignity of people at a fundamental level. When someone opens that conversation, there is no obligation to listen to them. In fact, it's up to the remaining decent people in this world to call it out for how gross it is. Say that, Associate Attorney 1. You're telling me you aren't even a little turned on by Glenn Powell? Interesting choice of celebrity to be like, are you sure you're not gay? All right, let's move on. So after seeing the post that I've already shared with you, I decided maybe let me go look and see, is there a bowl for AI? And there was. There's an artificial intelligence bowl. And, you know, it's a lot of AI apologists in there talking about like how great it is, but also people grappling with how it's going to affect like people's work lives. I'm sure some interesting conversations are happening. But what I would like to draw your attention to is these like esoteric musings on AI that are being left by consultants, but I think these are all being left maybe by the same consultant who just has a lot of these like fake deep thoughts about AI. So let me read some to you. Remember when we had to wait for information, research in libraries, wait for experts? Now it's instant. How does this immediacy reshape our patience, our depth of thought? Are we gaining speed at the cost of contemplation? Yes. And I think like we're gaining speed and also a lot of times gaining misinformation, just like things that are not true that AI spits out. And I do think things being so instant, like I think our attention spans have suffered, our like tolerance for long form reading has suffered as a result. And I think that's really bad because people aren't like reading to understand and then write a thoughtful response. They're having AI synthesize something for them and then having AI write something for them. The internet has been poisoned with AI misinformation. It's really quite bad. So yes, I do think AI, but also a lot of the technology we have does something fundamentally to those of us who use it. Like we are not maybe encouraged to hone certain skills, like reading for the purpose of thinking critically. And I think, yeah, we have less patience or less tolerance for things that are long and require sustained attention. Our brains evolved over millions of years to recognize human faces, emotions, and intentions. Now we're applying those same neural circuits to AI. Not those same neural circuits. I don't think that's true. Maybe our tendency to anthropomorphize isn't a bug, but a feature, helping us integrate AI into society. We anthropomorphize things. I think that is like a human instinct. I don't know what point this is trying to make, that like it's kind of natural that we attribute human traits to AI. I think that's true. We do that, and I think it's dangerous because we think that this thing knows and understands things, and it doesn't. I wonder if AI is creating a new form of digital inequality. Those with access to advanced AI tools gain superhuman productivity, creativity, and learning speed. However, those without fall further behind. Are we witnessing the most incredible amplifier of privilege in human history? I think tech is definitely amplifying privilege, but not for the reasons this person proposes. I do not think AI tools give people superhuman productivity, creativity, and learning speed. I don't think you're learning faster when you use AI. I think you're learning things that could be just like misinformation, because AI does not know what's true. But I do think it's true that countries with less access to this cutting edge tech like AI are the people who are going to suffer as a result of it, but not because they don't have ChatGPT or like Mid-Journey to make things for them, but because they're probably on the front lines of the climate disaster that is resulting from resource-intensive technology like artificial intelligence. They might also be disadvantaged by this technology because they're being paid pennies to do content moderation for these AI companies. So yeah, I think the fact that we funnel billions into big tech while there are people who make it work and who suffer the consequences that this wreaks on our planet, I think it is an amplifier of privilege, but like not because it's such a disadvantage to not have AI. Throughout history, humans have used tools to extend our capabilities, from spears to calculators. But AI isn't just extending our abilities, it's replicating and potentially surpassing them. Is this an extension of humanity or the birth of something else entirely? This sounds like a pitch for like a sci-fi movie of some sort that I would probably give 2 stars on Letterboxd. I do not think AI is replicating and potentially surpassing our abilities as humans. I think it can process information quickly, but again, sometimes it's just like wrong, and the stuff that it's outputting is not meaningful inherently. I just don't think that's true. And it's like, is this the birth of something else entirely? An extension? Like, it's an algorithm in computers. Knowledge isn't wisdom, and data isn't understanding. As AI gives us instant access to exponentially growing knowledge, are we becoming more or less wise? Can meaningful wisdom emerge from algorithmically processed information? Yeah, I think it can, but like not the way we're doing it, where we just have prompts that we type in and like whatever the AI says back, we take as Bible. That I don't think we can get wisdom that way necessarily, but I agree. Like, finally, some points. Data isn't understanding. There is that issue of recursion where there's misinformation coming out of the AI, getting fed back in, and it's like all throughout the internet now. There's like research papers where people used AI and printed like misinformation. Scary times. AI needs human creativity to learn and synthesize information, yet it might discourage new human creation by making it seem pointless. If an AI can create unlimited art, why would humans bother? But without new human art, AI stagnates. This feels like a self-defeating cycle, does it not? I think this is kind of silly. I don't want to say that no artist feels discouraged by AI's capability to make art, because I did, hopefully I'll return to the script someday, but like I was writing a script for months and months about AI and the ethics of AI art, and I talked to a lot of artists for it, and a lot of them did feel like, why did I study this and why did I like work so hard at honing this skill when all of that can just be scraped and stolen and replicated very soullessly by AI and whoever like wants to plug my work into something like that. But I don't think the fact that AI can do that is really discouraging people from making art, because if you're a creative person, the point is not just the output. It's a whole process. It's like it's a self-affirming and self-actualizing process that feels good. And so I think people will always be creative. I don't think the capacity of AI to output a bunch of trash is going to discourage us from making things, because that's like why we're here. That's what makes us feel good and makes us feel like alive. Like, just because AI can do it, I'm not gonna sing, I'm not gonna paint or draw, I'm not gonna make a video where I talk about people's stupid Glassdoor comments. No, of course I'm gonna do those things because it's fun. And the difference is when I do it, it means something because I have a consciousness, whereas AI has no perspective that is of interest, at least to me. We created AI to make sense of a world too complex for our brains. Now AI itself has become too complex for us to understand. Will we need new AI to explain existing AI? At what point do we accept living in a world beyond our comprehension? I don't think we live in a world beyond our comprehension. I don't think AI is beyond our understanding. It's an algorithm. It's a bunch of computers in a data center. Like, there's people who coded this. There's people who understand how it works. AI is not, like, so complicated that it's beyond human understanding. AI is not an existential threat to us. It's not going to take over. This is really, like, this is exactly what tech bros want, is for people to talk about AI in this aggrandizing way that makes it seem so, like, almost magical. But it's not. It's like, it's algorithms, babe. It's code. Now, this is a point that I actually think is interesting. When most people can't understand how AI systems work, yet these systems increasingly influence elections, economies, and information flows, can we still claim to live in informed democracies? Knowledge gaps become power gaps. I think that's true. And I think the mystery around AI and the, like, opacity that these tech corporations want to maintain, I think that's very purposeful. They want people to be ignorant and they want people to think of AI as this, like, all-knowing thing that you'd be willing to pay for access to. And I think there are a lot of ethical questions that we are not addressing quickly enough about what it means to have AI in use for things like hiring. Like this person says, if AI is influencing elections and influencing the knowledge that we have access to, that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. And we need better regulation and we need less funding for this, because, like, how are we funneling all of our money into these algorithms that steal from people, suck up all of these resources and accelerate climate change, and pay people poverty wages to look at horrible, horrible things in the role of content moderator? I can't believe we live in a society where that is what we give billions of dollars to, when we still have people who are hungry and homeless. It's awful. That's really shameful. Okay, to finish us off, this is a post from the New York City Bowl, and it says, "Do y'all like Hamilton?" I thought this would be a nice place to end. I thought that was funny. Just, do y'all like Hamilton? No, nothing work related. Just, do y'all like Hamilton? Senior manager one says, yes, love it. Probably know every lyric. Not sure what this says about me. We have some fair criticisms about the pacing of the show. The author says, I do. What did they say to you to get you to sail New York City down the river? To Washington know about the dinner was the presidential pressure to the war. This person says it was the worst. This teacher says it was the worst. It's not natural to see our founding father break down and rap. What do they mean it's not natural? Also, like, just one founding father, which one is it not natural to see rap? Not a fan of rap, so I'm glad I paid nothing to stream it. I can appreciate the history and details with the effort put in, but it's just not for me. Okay, not a fan of rap. Interesting. I like ham. And that concludes our foray into the Glassdoor community tab. Wow. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I feel like there's potential to do something exactly like this for LinkedIn, because the things that people think are inspiring over there are dystopian in a way that really turns my stomach. So, you know, maybe I'll do something like this again. But thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Check the description for those peer-reviewed studies, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.